All right, I'm gonna try again. I am so aggravated right now. I know this thing is gonna be. Matter of fact, let me try to fix it. I reset everything back to. I don't know why I reset it back to, but y'all gonna tell me if this thing is working. Oh, who's knocking on this glass looking for me? Hold on a second, hold on a second. Let me see if y'all. Let me see if. Knocking on this glass. Fire trucks outside. All right, y'all. Let me see. Do me a favor. Type one in there if y'all hear me. I done got the fire truck. Shalom, Joe's daughter. I try to get in so many times in the room. I just try to. I'm like, God, please tell me something. How do I sound if I stay at this volume? I have people out here. All right, everybody say I'm sounding okay. Oh, Watcher, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute. D, I see you. I just hope nobody comes in here right now. There's a lot going on. And later on, I'll be Holder, what's going on? I'm gonna have to try to hit you in Messenger. I'm gonna try to hit you in Messenger. But we've been talking. I'm gonna see if this stay on for a while. Do I sound all right? I said, all right, good to see you, Mighty. It's good to see you. If I sound all right, we're going to go ahead. We've been talking about how Jesus became the Son of God. I was trying to get into the whole doctrine of adoptionism. And adoptionism was a second century cult. It began in the end of the first century. We start seeing signs of it. Every time we have a council in the church. Everything was going good, according to Acts 4:12, and they continued in the apostles' doctrine. And by them continuing in the apostles' doctrine, they were doing what they were taught. We have pastoral epistles. So after Jesus' original 12 apostles in the day of Pentecost, we have other people that got saved and they came on the scene. So people like John Mark and Titus and Luke and Barnabas and other people. And we have a chain. Some people, I don't want to get into the whole apostolic succession, but we have a chain from the very beginning of doctrine coming all the way down, going all the way through into certain things that we understand about Christ and who Christ is. Now, a lot of people, the church thinkers who were the fathers, who were the bishops, we call them church fathers. These church fathers, if they would encounter some problems concerning the nature of Christ, they would address it. That's how we had the various councils. Everything was running smooth. The only reason they had councils was because the church fathers started hearing things that was not handed down. They started hearing things that were not proper. Now, one of the things that they were hearing is that according to the Gospel of Mark, because Mark was the first book, according to the Gospel of Mark, when Jesus was baptized, the Holy Spirit came down on him like a dove. And that's when Jesus became the Son of God. He was not born the Son of God. He wasn't the unique Son of God. He was the special Son of God. What's the difference between being the unique Son of God and the special Son of God? And the second thing is, how do we fight adoptionism? Because we're seeing it coming back with certain camps. Some people are saying, well, Jesus followed the law so good, that's how you become a son of God, by following it, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. We got New Agers that say that we're all Christ. Everybody is a Christ once you understand it, and the preachers and everyone got to start dealing with your higher self. The Apostle Paul says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. In orthodoxy, we make a mistake. They claim we make a mistake and we focus on the man Jesus Christ, where we need to focus on the God that's inside of all of us. That's the talk of Oprah Winfrey and so many other people, the Christ doctrine or the Christ consciousness, and Christ can come upon all of us. Now, because they speak on it in an allegorical way, because they speak on it in that way and say that we're all Christ, and Jesus would say certain things, that the Father is in me and I in him and I am in him, so we are in Christ and all of this other stuff. And that's the proper doctrine that needs to be taught. And a lot of people feel it's two sides of the same coin. When we're focusing on Jesus and we're clapping and we're going to church and we're lifting up our hands, we're worshiping a man we don't understand. It has to do with the Christ consciousness and Christ coming inside of us. This is how come we got to be careful and we got to start dealing with church history because we're detectives. Grace and peace, brother, because we're detectives and we have to trace down doctrine. Now, I'm going to talk about Israel and some other stuff. When we tracing doctrine down from the very beginning, automatically we have to go to those people that were connected with John, Peter, James, who was Luke, and Mark, and Titus. That's why we call those pastoral epistles. This is a second generation of bishops. We don't see too much the word apostle anymore, even though we know people, Acts 14 and 14, Barnabas and Saul later on were called apostles. So the Apostle Paul, when he fell off the mule in the 9th chapter, he wasn't an apostle yet. When he was ordained in Acts, the 13th chapter, he wasn't an apostle yet. In the 14th chapter, when they went out, they were laid hands on them and they went out. After they went out, they were called later on, they were called apostles. Now, the reason we have to trace the doctrine is because we have certain people. We have people like Polycarp and Clement and others, Ignatius of Antioch and others that came after Paul and Barnabas and died, and Rufus, the guy that carried Jesus' cross, his son. Everybody would set up shop in Antioch, and they were first called Christians in Antioch. Missionary journeys. That's how the book of Acts closed. Missionary journeys and everything came from Antioch. So what we want to pick up is from the church fathers that were ordained after John, the Revelator, we call him, John, who was the youngest apostle, John, who was the only apostle that died of natural causes. Every other apostle throughout the Bible and throughout the church's history, every other apostle died by getting their head chopped off. That's Peter and them. Well, that was Paul. And then Peter was crucified upside down. He didn't want to be crucified the same way that Christ did, so they turned him upside down. And I think they say Matthew went away to India, and we have Mark. We see later on, we see Mark after he's a second generation bishop. We see him setting up church in Egypt and in different places, and we have a history that we can trace. Now, we got a problem because we got a history that we can trace. This is one of the reasons that we know where the doctrine comes from. And every time a problem comes up with doctrine, when people start saying certain things that was not handed down to faithful men, that's how come people want to know what church you go to, who laid hands on you, who ordained you into this thing, what doctrine are you teaching? Because Paul told them that people are going to come in from among y'all. Not outsiders from the pyramids of Kemet, from the mysteries of Kemet. People are going to come up from among y'all. I thought Matthew went to Ethiopia and Thomas went to India. Thomas went to India, and Mark was in what you call it too. Come on, Father G, remind me. Thank you. So this is where the problem is coming in, because doctrine started coming up. We started having problems with strange doctrines, and they started saying things they were attempting to understand the nature of Christ. Come on, Father G, do me a favor and put a definition. Post a definition in there. You a BK apologist. Hypostatic union. There's words we need to know, so we can get around this cult nonsense and we can understand and not fall into all of this foolishness that's on the internet. There's words that we need to know. When we study in Christology the nature of Christ, we see that people have a problem. Some people thought that Jesus was just a phantom. Some people thought that Jesus was a physical person, but his mind was controlled by God, so he couldn't sin. So people said, listen, how can Jesus be, or some others I would hear say Jesus is part God and part man. And the church father said, no, that's not what was handed down to us. And they would use terms to attempt to explain the doctrine until it built up to the Council of Nicaea. The problem is when we start dealing with the Council of Nicaea, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that people are talking about, and it's not historical facts. How I know it's not historical facts? Because they don't know certain people. If you're talking about dice, is that the term that Jesus being fully God? Yes, you know that's the term, Father G. You in seminary spending $100,000 a year. Yes, that's the term. Hypostatic union. Somebody put those words down inside the text so everybody can know that, because there's vocabulary words we're going to deal with. We'll often run into people and they'll talk about certain things, like they'll talk about Constantine and the Nicene Council and what happened at the Nicene Council. But then when you ask them about primary sources and everything before that, we have to understand that there's a way, there's a pattern, there's detectives, there's things that we follow. And I'm going to bring up Israel because we have apologists, we have we have people that know automatically to go to the history. Where do we go? We go to the church fathers. We have the writings of the church fathers. Write down, somebody put down Philip Chaff. Philip Chaff. If you look up Philip Chaff's name. When we start dealing with certain people, let me see. Let's say, do we have an example of a Gentile being ordained or called by the Most High God? It went off the screen. I should have brought the other person. When we start dealing with the Bible, the only Gentile we have in there that wrote Holy Writ, we believe Luke the Doctor. We believe he was a Gentile. Thank you, Mello. That hypostatic union. Thank you. You can put those two together. You don't have to put a gap in between the hypostatic, I believe. So Luke is the only Gentile that we believe wrote inside of the Hebrew script. And I'm going to explain, the Hebrew script when we coming up to that, why we call it and do it the way we do it. But systematic theology is important so we can explain these things. So we have a doctrines that we can trace. Everybody that's serious about the Bible, y'all can get online, y'all can look it up and read it for free. You have to read the Apostolic Fathers or the church fathers. And it's best to read the 10-volume book by Philip Chaff. It's good to have that in your library. Any pastor, it's good to have that on your phone so you can see the writings and what was going on. Clement and other fathers that was closest to the Apostle John. John got threw away. They threw him away on the Isles of Patmos. Good to see you, LeChat. They thought he was going to die. After they changed emperors, they went back and they thought John was going to die because they threw him in boiling water and they threw him on the Isle of Patmos. That was like a penal colony. Like Australia, like Rikers Island, it was a jail that they would just throw on rebellious soldiers and different people. They figure we're not going to kill John. He's the last leader of the church. We're going to boil him when they see that they threw him grease and he didn't die. They just turned around and they just threw John on the Isles of Patmos and he was there. But whilst he was there, he got a vision. That's when the book of Revelation came about. So from the very beginning, they asked, who was this Jesus? Remember, they tried to understand everything that Mark received and Luke received in the beginning of Luke. He said, we're going to take those things from people that were eyewitnesses, from Mary from the beginning, from James, Jesus' brother, from all, not even Paul and them, from Peter and them, those that he picked from the beginning, Thomas. They said, he was in the boat. We were in the boat and he was preaching and teaching all day. Then what happened? Then we got in the boat. He said, come, let us go into the other side. And he fell asleep in the ship. He fell asleep as a man. And then they said, the winds and the storms came. A storm came whilst they were coming across the Sea of Galilee. And Rick says they came to him and shook him and tried to wake him up and said, Master, carest not thou that we perish? Now he went to sleep as the Son of Man, but when he opened his eye, they seen another side of him, the Son of God. And when he got up, and Rick said that he rebuked the winds. And everything began to be still. They turned around and looked at each other in fear and said, what manner of man is this? Who is this human being? The NIV said he wasn't regular. So some people say, well, Elijah prayed in the rain. No. Nobody ever stopped the rain. He prayed earnestly after not having rained for a long time. God, let it rain for the crops and for the people. That's a whole different story from stopping the rain. Who is this? What manner of man is this? Go back to Fard and them. Go back to Confucius and them. We don't have these stories. Go back to old side. We don't got these stories. These folk is giving us make-believe and they think we've fallen for it. But there's something that we're tracing. So we need the Apostolic Fathers. We need to understand this. So they were trying to say later on, how was God in Christ Jesus reconciling the world unto himself? Some people say he was a phantom. So different things came up, different heresies came up. Y'all have to understand what we call heresiologists. We have different people. I study the occult and Freemasonry and how the mysteries came down and how it got connected with the church. And I'm going to talk about the mysteries and the church and the connection and name it and claim it and speaking certain things. But on the other hand, you have people in all they do, heresiologists, all they do is study heresies and how heresies came down in the church because there were so many heresies. And every time a heresy popped up, the church fathers, who were later on bishops, they all addressed those heresies. So we have church fathers. They were the first apologists really speaking against heresies that popped up. There were heresies popping up saying, we don't believe that Jesus was a real physical man. And then those other ones said, no, we believe he was a physical man, but the Christ came on him and the Christ can come on us. And that's the doctrine that's came down. And because of the internet, Freemasonry, the cult and the secret arm, and Alice Bailey and them moving in Freemasonry. Because the school of the occult was Freemasonry. That was the school of the occult. So Alice Bailey, Lead Beater, Alfred Pike, Manly P. Hall, Helen Blavatsky, the guy Levi that wrote the Aquarian Gospel, all of them said it's our time to come against the church and teach the higher consciousness. This is the other side of the coin. The other pastors that were Freemasons that said they didn't believe it, but they still taught writ allegorically. They still taught it symbolically. When we start talking about the Christ, Jakes will take something that don't even mean too much or nothing, and he's going to bring that Christ doctrine in, and people going to eat it up. And people say that's the best way for you to receive the most out of the biblical text, by giving them the Christ doctrine and speaking to your Christ consciousness that's inside of you to elevate yourself. Think of those things which are above. You got to have Christ consciousness. You got to think like Christ. Now, a lot of people would call this New Age. This is the problem. This is the problem. What are we going to do with the New Age movement? Other people say it's not New Age because Jesus did speak on certain things. Now, he was the Christ, and he wanted to teach us some things about our spirit man and some things we have the power to do. So we said, reading a bit, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast in the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart. So we have declaring things in the Bible. And the problem is, a lot of times they feel because the Pentecostal church have done certain things and we start decreeing and declaring and we went a little overboard. A lot of the occultists said they took it and they twisted something that was pure and spiritual and holy. They took it and they turned it into materialism. What do you mean they took it into materialism? Name it and claim it. Claim a car, claim a husband, claim a house. So in the 70s, that earlier back, the New Thought movement came in and they twisted the pure doctrine. Because they said there's certain things that you can claim, that you can speak on, that's going to change things in your life. So they stripped us from certain things, and they claimed they started using it. So other people, you would hear that secular people, they would start telling you things like, you have to have positive confessions. When I wake up in the morning, I'm a beautiful person. I'm going to have a beautiful day today. It's a known fact, if you speak good into a child's life, he's going to do better in school. So everybody's running around here and they're having positive confessions, and this is what the occultists are saying this thing is outside of Jesus. You can speak certain things into the atmosphere. Is that Bible? We're Father G and them at. We're holding that. Is that Bible? Come on, Joe's daughter. We got some stuff in Scripture, and these people are using the Scripture, but part of the problem is we had occultists. We had other people that started dealing with certain things, and they turned it into a materialistic thing. Call yourself, call a car forth, call a husband forth, call a house forth. Throw that spirit, boomerang that spirit. And we started getting into witchcraft, casting spells and throwing spells over here. And it's Pentecostal witchcraft. And we started doing that. But how much of it is true? How much power do we have to speak certain things? Positive confession. Is positive confessions connected anyway? They made it spookism. Is positive confession anyway in the Bible? Now, faith cometh by hearing. That's why occultists are always getting out here teaching. You don't have to listen, but you always hear something. That's how come the old timers told you, you got to be careful what you're listening to. The old timers told you that. You got to be careful what you're listening to. Because when you're not even listening, you're hearing it, so it'll come into your ear. So we got to be careful our ear and our eye gate, because it does something deep down inside of us. So now people are taking certain things and they're turning it into a science. The science of your higher self. What do we do with that now? Because this is what's gaining people attention, and they're doing things, and they say, you know, I am clearing up my mind, and some things are happening to me, when a lot of us are caught into emotionalism. So there's some things that we might have went overboard and we threw the baby out with the bath waters, and people are trying. Positive confession is New Age, and people are trying to attempt to recover it. Where is the balance at? What do we do with that? I came in here and the other guy said that I'm a Christ. I'm like, ooh, wait a minute. I don't understand what he means, but he said, I'm a Christ and we're a Christ, and Jesus said that we're Christ, and you got to focus on Christ. Proverbs 18:27, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And they gave me plenty of scriptures. I was talking to the other pastors, Freemason. He said, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Don't say my name. And he starts saying some things, and he starts quoting some scriptures. That's how come I know these pastors, they'll flip and they'll flop, and they believe some things. And he started giving me a whole bunch of scriptures. And he said, you have to explain some of these scriptures. But let me go back to the historical part. We have to trace the doctrine and make sure the doctrine didn't creep in with mesmerism. That's the guy that's where we get the word mesmerized from. Back in the days, he would do some things, and he would spook the people out. They called it magic. It was early magic or whatever, dealing with the mind, early psychology. Must meditate by pondering on the word throughout the day. Read Psalms 1. Blessed is the man. Yeah, absolutely so. Not on the higher self, not on stars, not on grandma, but meditating on the word. So meditation works. But they said we were running around and clapping and jumping and praising, so they introduced meditation from the East. We're supposed to meditate, but what we're supposed to meditate on? They're telling us to blank our minds out. God said to meditate on his word, and then you'll be like a tree planted. When you start meditating on the word, God will start stirring some things in your spirit. Not Caucasian, hope and wishing, causative. Oh yes, yes. I can't even see all of that, but not causative. Far as us being gods and speaking certain things. But let me get back to the historical part. I'm jumping. So with the historical part, we have to have the church fathers because we can trace the doctrine. And tracing the doctrine is one of the problems. Tracing the history is one of the problems. And we have a connection with that. When we start tracing the doctrine, a lot of people want to say that the Trinity came about in the Nicene Council. I'm going to get on something very, very touchy. But from the church fathers and from different writings, we see that they were worshiping Christ way hundreds of years before Constantine come on the set. But how are we to understand Christ and his nature? So they gave us words like hypostatic union. They gave us words to understand, no, he wasn't half man, half God. He was fully man and he was fully God. But how does that work in light of Deuteronomy 6:04? And for hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Jesus wasn't regular. He got up and he rebuked them winds, the winds and the rain. Jesus wasn't regular. So we can't confuse it. A lot of people, they're trying to pull him down from his high office, from who he is, from his divine nature. They're trying to pull him down and say he was a good prophet. And because he kept the law, statutes, and commandments, he just had an extra blessing on him. And that extra blessing made him special. We're all sons of God, but that made him special, but he wasn't unique. And the church father said, no, that's not what we received. Remember, Acts 4:12, what we received, that's not what we received. That's not what came down. We got a problem with that. So then the bishops would get up and they refute that. And whoever would keep teaching that, that's where the heresy come from. Whoever would keep teaching that, we have a problem. We got to be careful. We got Israelite camps out here, and they're teaching on Ebionites. And oh, Dale, you got to understand Christ only had one nature, and they'll try to fool you with the occult heresy, with one heresy that Christ only had one nature, and he was a regular man. Because we did have some believers that were messianics, that were Israelites, and they believed in that. They wanted to keep Torah. They wanted to keep Torah, and they believed that Jesus was Messiah, but Jesus wasn't divine. And this is very early. So you'll have some people that's in camps, and they'll bring up the Ebionites to you. They'll bring that up to you and try to give it like, oh, these were the real Christians back in the day. This was proto-Orthodoxy. Before Orthodoxy, this is what it was till Constantine changed it. No, too many writings from the church fathers to tell us that. And then now this is where the problem comes in with Israel. Because pastors that are studying are hitting me now. Other people are saying, listen, we want a tracer. We got to put a trace on that. We got to trace this doctrine all the way back. Because, and the pastors and them that hit me, I said, well, I got the brothers on. I have the brothers on, and we're coming back. We're going to discuss certain things. Shout out to Brother Dante. Shout out to Teo Ministry. Because now they challenging her, Marine, you're going to have to get that business together. You're going to have to get that information together because we're chasing the doctrine from the church fathers. We're tracing doctrine all the way down. All right, we can trace doctrine. We could trace doctrine. I got no problem with that. But what they want to know is after the temple, after 132, after 135, after 70 AD, how can we trace doctrine of Israel in Africa? What sources do we have? Now, automatically, I'll say, well, the church started becoming largely Gentiles. So we got plenty writings of church fathers that were Gentiles, but they want to say, we are the other people. We are the congregations of Hebrews in Africa from the 2nd century that left the temple from Jerusalem in them, that left the temple. Where are they? And they're looking, and they got a problem with that. And now we got a couple of different things. I think I wrote 2 things there. We got a couple of different things, what it could be, what could the theory be, why we don't have enough evidence. One, there's people out here putting out evidence and we don't want to see it. We seeing it and we hearing it and we don't want to see it. So then they told me, well, go find out who we need to look to. All right, y'all, I'm find out who we need to look to in what we would call the moderate organization. Who's scholars among the moderate? Who've done research among the moderates that we look to? I said, well, let me get them brothers Teo. The brother Dante, he was on. I tried to get the guy Ron Dalton on. He's supposed to have more sources than anybody in the Hebrew moderate community from what I hear from others, not from himself. because people want to know, and they're saying there's no evidence. There's more evidence of those brown people looking like Arabians or whatever you want to call them lighter Jews. There's more evidence. Check out Dr. Vince Bantu. All right, the one he did with Lisa Fields the other day. So we have to look at all of that stuff. Somebody asked me about those brothers quoting the Bantu and saying something. Some people send me 4 or 5 articles. And then I'm on the highway. I got other stuff going on, but I said I'm going to try to bring this information out. So it's one thing, or either the information is out there. They could be lying and suppressing the information, or destroyed all the information and argue from silence. The white Jews destroyed it. The Romans destroyed it. Everybody else destroyed it. That could be one. It could be destroyed because there was a great conspiracy coming down and a shifting of the gods from the lighter to the darker people. It could be that. The other one could be that the Israelites are lying and there is no evidence, and all of this is make-believe. We got to trace doctrine. We got to trace history the same way we trace doctrine. And all of this stuff here is make-believe. Or like I said, the information is out there and people are ignoring the information. Now we got to go to people, but we have to go to people that are scholars that traced it. And a lot of people saying, Berean, I don't care, boy, don't give me none of it. And I understand that. We can't pick it up later on. So folks don't want 14th, 15th, 16th, 18th century. Folk want to go back like we going back with the church father. Folk want to go back to that 1st and 2nd century. And they want to trace doctrine. They want to trace lineage. They want to trace color. They want to trace synagogues coming all the way down. They want to trace these things. So these things are a problem. When I say Jesus is unique, Jesus in his class by himself. Jesus in the class by himself. So we got a lot to deal with. Now some people are saying, listen, I don't have no time looking into that. I don't have no time looking into that. And that's one thing, but these are things that we discuss, and these are things that I'm hoping that we can turn around and we can get in the group and we can discuss it, because I don't like talking. That's how come I went through so much. And I said, I got to reset the phone and this and that, and they didn't want me to bring a laptop in, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be rough. But I did some other stuff that I'm down here that I have to do, and I have to do it because I don't want to do damage to the kingdom, and my finances was this and that, and we're trying to figure stuff out, and people trying to hate, but it's too much information, it's too much stuff I got that I want to bring out, and I don't want to do damage to the kingdom, so I got to go through some other stuff. But it's okay. It's a trying time, but we're going to get this information out, and we're going to bring people to the table. Somebody said, I want to know, and we're going to bring people to the table, and we're going to talk about this, and whatever it is. If we can get a few of them, we'll try with 3 of them books. We got to bring out all of the earlier sources, and we have to look at it. They arguing over the word Judah, then people hitting me about Negro land, and they go pulling up Darby stuff, and other people say, I don't want to see nothing from videos, and they, oh, Lord, have mercy. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But we got to be careful because the name it and claim it is out here. But do we have authority to say certain things? Mike Heiser said Jesus was the one and only of his, yes. Oh, Jesus was unique. Jesus was unique in anything and any doctrine that pops up and goes counter to that. That's where your apologetics got to step in. That's where your church father history got to step in. Too many people out here lying. Every single person that's talking about the Nicene Father or Nicene Council can't name no church fathers. I've done my research. We running around here using this word loosely, like people use the word love loosely. We out here, we wilding out with it. You haven't done research. You don't know primary sources for Nicaea. You haven't done research. I'm giving y'all some names. Put down Philip Chaff's name, a boss in church history. We got to know who's bosses in the field. Tiger Woods ain't got nothing to do with the Super Bowl. We got to know who's bosses in the field, and too many people out here claiming they're doing their research and they don't know what the primary source is. They don't know how to start dealing with stuff. They playing themselves, and they coming and they trying to play us. You can't play us. We know the basics. Understand timelines, where that come from. When people start talking about certain things, then they want to bring up the different gospels. I'm going to name some people. Elaine Pagels. If we deal with Elaine, if we deal with Gary Habermas, when we deal with Mike Heiser, when we deal with James White, when we deal with anybody that's dealing with textual criticism, the whole, what's them people up, they were throwing them balls down there in Harvard, in Princeton, I mean. The Jesus Seminar, if we dealing with any of them, what's the guy, Dan Wallace, if we dealing with any textual criticism, with critics with degrees in that field, they'll tell you, listen, you can say what you want. Mark is among the oldest. Some people argue in Thomas, but the synoptics, what we got is those canonical gospels. Those are older than all that other nonsense that came on the scene later on. So when these guys wanted to preach their nonsense and push their nonsense, they started writing gospels that came 125, between 90 and 160 years after the fact. We already had Luke, that was a canon. We already had Luke in the gospel, and we already had Luke in the book of Acts that was in circulation. By 150, it was in full swing as one book together. I got to explain those books too, because people got confusion with the books. When we say the Bible, we're talking about the whole Bible, the whole Word of God. Two things that we always have a problem with is the divinity of Christ and the history of the church. People that study doctrine and history of the church is the divinity of Christ and the canon. The canon, when we say the canon, how many books, what books belong in the Bible? These are two things that just won't go away. You can say, but I'm gonna write 15 years from now, I'm gonna write a book on, I'm gonna write a book on the nature of Christ, and it's gonna still be popular. Because those are two things that never went away. That's never going away. We're going to always get a Charles Taze Russell that's going to come back and resurrect an Arius conspiracy that one day God made Jesus. And then we're going to always have certain things because people are riding with that now. We're going to always have certain things where people are riding with these doctrines, and the doctrines aren't right and exact. That's how come people say, Berean, if you know the history of the doctrines, you know that's what some of these people are trying to bring up, been smashed a long time ago. Forget the law. Christ is the end of the law. I said, no, people have been lying. Let's just hear everybody out. Let's just put it all on the table. They just don't like the way I'm doing it because you don't do it and talk in front of everybody who controlled the doctrine, who spoke on the doctrine, who was the ones that rebuked them. They were the bishops. Remember, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all them centuries later on, we don't have people named apostles. So a lot of people like myself said that the bishops took the place of the apostles. But some people said, according to Ephesians 4 and 11, he gave some apostles. And for the perfecting of the church, if the church ain't perfect, we got apostles today, and it's okay. If you're a bishop or you're an apostle, it's okay. You just do what you do. So those are small things, but those are things that people would argue over. Coming down into history, we got bishops, and bishops were there dealing with the doctrine. Now, what people would argue now, and we got to understand, I know I'm all over the place. I just wrote down 2 notes and I'm freestyling. I'm so happy this phone is on. We got people that would argue, did politics play a role in the word Trinity? Did politics play a role in the Trinity being inserted into the Bible? We got to be careful. People that know a little Rick, they feel that with Erasmus and them, they feel some stuff happened later on with 1 John 5 and 7. There's 3 that bear record in heaven. I don't want to talk about that too much. They say, you're confusing the people. But there's people out here that know certain things and they start going in. How do we get the canon that we have? There were certain things that was beyond dispute with the Hebrews. When we got Tanakh, T-A-N-A-K, when we got Tanakh, that's the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bible have a different amount of books, but why does it have a different amount of books? It's the same 39 that what we Christians call the Old Testament. A testament is just a covenant. My grandmother died, she left the car to me and my sisters, and then we're gonna bust down the house. We're gonna share, excuse my language, we're going to sell the house or share the house, and we're gonna split whatever the value of the house is when she died. So when we go to the lawyer's office, they would read her last will and testament. That's what a testament is. So we got the New Testament and we got the Old Testament, but they're covenants. So when you see Tanakh, Tanakh has to do with the law, the prophets, and the writings. That's the threefold. Jesus said, oh, slow of heart, when he resurrected. He said, didn't you read all that Moses and them said that they said in the law, the prophets, and the writings concerning me? That's the threefold Old Testament. That's the 39 books Christians bear witness with. But I think among the Israelites, it's only 24 books, because when you deal with Obadiah and the book of Jonah and Micah, those 12 minor prophets are one book. We got 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Saint, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. All those books are one book. We looking at them as 6 books. They only looking at them at 3 books. So the numbers are the same. The numbers are the same. The problem comes around later on when you start dealing with some other books. What we did with Apocrypha. Grace and peace, Yolanda. Stay late. She stayed coming in here late with that COVID. Good to see you though. And we hope y'all are still staying in. A lot of people, worried about that whole thing. I know I talk to my people in Georgia and they trying to open up. So we got to understand how the books develop, how stuff came down. People are there's more stuff. I like what Mike Heiser is doing. He want to bring scholarship to the regular people, so he's heavy on YouTube for a scholar. Dan Wallace and they heavy on YouTube for scholars, but at the same time, we got other scholars like Bart Ehrman that's in heavy rotation on YouTube. We got other scholars with degrees in field, and they're atheists and they heavy rotation, so they're throwing stuff out there about books, about manuscripts, about the later part of Mark or 1 John 5. So they're throwing stuff out there. And we'll see that people are addressing it. Thank you so much. Grace and peace, Brian Jenkins. We appreciate you in Super Chat. So what are we going to do with these things? So I'm saying now we have to go in deeper. They tell me you can't have your laptop. I said, well, I'm trying to finish some stuff up. And then I hate to even tell y'all the whole thing and how I'm hearing this whole thing. I'm going to tell y'all, you ain't got to dress up. I ain't dealing with no church. I walk in a church when I want to. Somebody said, Marine, you're going through some problems. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to call these people. And these people, you just call them, talk to people up there and just see what's what. And he said, they'll help you with, get your finances right and this and that. And it's going to be in your area. Because the other guy's trying to act funny. He was like, Marine, don't work. And I'm like, Lord, have mercy. This is not working. And just praying and trying to answer the phone and help the saints. Been giving me problems. So the brother said, and I've been praying. I said, Jesus, I don't want to damage the kingdom. I don't want to be throwing the PayPal out there. I started saying that. Whatever you want me to do, Jesus. I'm going off the subject now. I got to tell you, whatever you want me to do. And I'm praying about it. So the brother saw me and we were talking and I explained to him the whole situation, past and this and that. He said, I'm going to send you to my people. You're going to be all right in a couple of months. But you got to go through a trial period. You got to go through a little period. So I said, I'll do anything, Jesus. We touched and agreed. I get my mystical on when it's time. So he said, all right, you going out of town, right? I said, yeah, I came back. I was in Philly. I came back to New York. The corona jumped off. I tried to self-quarantine in a bunch of Airbnbs. And, I tried to explain the whole story. He said, go down here and see my people. And so I was like, all right, we heard your story. We believe the Spirit of the Lord came before you and opened up doors and we're here for you. Come on in. I was like, all right, come on in. So what I got to do? Whatever I got to do, I'm here to do it. Because, this is what I do. I want to teach. I want to make, I'm trying not to go back to the construction. I got to do whatever I got to do, and I don't want to be bothering the saints about no finances. God's going to open up some doors for me, Lord. And I know when you open up a door, and no man close it. Glory to you. And I'm getting, so they said, all right. So then when I got here, they gave me the lamb, they gave me the rules. I said, Lord, you got to be in church every night. I said, oh, God, I ain't been in church like the blood of Jesus. I started rocking. Oh, God, I started holding my tongue. Now, this is a religious spirit right here. And you got to wear a shirt and tie and be in the front. In the front, I said, oh, Jesus, free me. I'm ignorant now. I got a tie. So I try to throw my, how we get, I try to throw my, it could be the European, the tie around your neck nonsense. I try to throw in any nonsense. I don't wear ties. Do I look like a tie type of person to y'all? I don't wear ties and shirts, and they got to sit in the front every night. So I'm probably going to get 150 days of church and straight every night, 7 days a week, and got to be in the front. Lord, God, Father, God, Reverend, see, we all got to pray for me right now. He said, don't worry, you're going to come out of this. I'm like, Jesus, now, all right, now. And I'm busy telling you ain't got to go to church every Sunday. I ain't thinking about going to church every Sunday. And I'm saying, I am the church. And I'm saying all of this stuff. And I said, now, Lord said he was going to open doors, and he opened doors. And I'm like, Lord, he beating me right now. He beating me hard. I feel abused, but I know he loves me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm breaking down. But I gotta be strong. So they said it's the weekend. You came in here in the weekend. Don't worry, you just relax, brother. You show up to church like that. So I've been in the second row because I like the back of the church. I ride everywhere. Nope, you got to be in the front row because the front row is right next to the pulpit, and that's your next stop. God's going to fast track that thing. And I'm like, Lord God. I'm like, all right, fast track. We're going to send a barber in for you. Look at me, y'all. Now I stay like this. I ain't even need corona for me to stay like this. They're going to fast track it in the barber coming, and I'm like, Lord, and I got to wear. So if y'all do see me in between my studies and class, and y'all going to see me, I'm going to have a tie on. Don't think I done came down here and it's just, I'm going through some stuff right now. Oh, Jesus. Church every night, but God is good. Y'all pray for me. And, it's like, well, whatever God got for you, you ready for it? I said, yes. And I'm reading the rules in Revelation to get up in prayer, and I ain't got no beef with that prayer. And then we going there, we going to lay into the word, and then man, all this is good stuff. This right up my alley. When we going to get to I want to get to the class. When we going to get to the class? Oh, Monday morning. Before you get to class, we got some stuff here. I said, the blood of Jesus. I'm up here now, but I came all the way up here, and I talked to the church folk, and I said, y'all going to say it's going to be all right. Turn it around, and I'm doing this for the kingdom and for the glory. I'm like, Lord, have mercy. So if I start coming on here and y'all see me with a shirt and tie, and I got a bald head, and I done shaved all of this all the way down and trimmed up, talking proper because I can't talk. I can't talk. You know, I do talk a little bit. I do talk a little bit crazy, but I got to change everything else. A few things got to change. A few things got to change. They said we just gonna tweak it up. And imagine right now, if in the state right now, the ministry is going. You know, the ministry is going. I can't act like ministry ain't going. I can't act like we don't getting engagements. I can't act like the YouTube channel now. I can't act like, you know, God ain't doing something. They said, imagine it. You go to the upper room. That was the first church, so they started giving me all of this stuff and the Greek and the matter of fact. Let me hit y'all with that. What was the name of the first church? The upper room. Where Father C at? The name of the first church, the upper room, and start with a C. So they come trying to hit me with some heavy stuff. I'm like, I don't know, whatever it is. I want to go up in there and pray. Show me where it's at. I'm going to go up there and pray. And holler and just roll on the ground. I figure if I clap and holler real loud, they can say he's holy, we're going to leave him alone. He said, no, you can come downstairs and get a few tithes of church. We're going to have your stuff ready for you Monday. All to Jesus I surrender. All to him I free. I'm getting out of here, y'all. I done made myself sad. But it is what it is, you know. I'm like, Lord, I just don't want to, you know, I don't want to offend none of God's people, and then, you know, I don't want people to start talking, so I got to do what I got to do, whatever I got to do, Lord. And if I done anything wrong, God, you shine your light in the path, and I'm going to walk it. I didn't mean all this. Jesus is doing the most right now. Oh, Father God, forgive me, but he is. He already know my heart. He doing the most. Look at me now. Look at me, y'all. Because y'all I may be looking all the way. They may have me looking all the way. And then I see the other guys, and they all in the front with their ties on, and praise the Lord. And I'm like, Lord God in heaven. Y'all pray for me. I can't even finish what I got to finish. I can't even finish. I'm just scratching my head. It is what it is. And then I can't even get no. They can do what they want underneath my desk when we having Bible study. I got to bring the coffees in. Come on, we're gonna go to prayer like y'all ain't getting no coffee. Y'all can pray without no coffee. Jesus, what type of spirit is in here? But I don't want to talk loud. They give me access to everything. I don't want to talk loud. I don't want to play myself. But y'all got to pray for me. Y'all got to pray for me and pray hard. I'm going through some stuff that I ain't never. I said in all my days. All right, y'all, let me get off here. Sometimes I sneak around there. To the store and get some. They got 7-Eleven. I got to find me. I got to turn on that thing. I'm going to get some stuff delivered here or something. Y'all meet me on the corner, bring some pizza and bring some coffee and soda and everything. I don't know. You got to watch your diet. We have to be, and they talking about Daniel fat. I don't know what these folk talking about. Let me get out of here before they hear me, y'all. All right, man, I love y'all. We're going to try to, listen, we're going to try to go in. I don't know when I'm going to get them brothers on, but I got some of the books I ordered, and, you know, thank God for that. I got to order some books. I'm going to get them books up in here, and we're gonna go in and we're going to do that other stuff. All right, y'all, I got to go. They might be coming. God bless y'all. Y'all remember me. Oh, let me make sure I turn this thing off right. Are you sure?